Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Rich Perez welcoming you into the Rich Report, part of the Rundown Sports Network, where we talk everything sports. Crazy week that we have just gone through. The New York Giants get through their NFL draft weekend. The New York Knicks, they're moving on, playing the Boston Celtics in the second round of the Eastern Conference Finals. And I want to start off with the New York Giants and this A-plus grade of a draft that we are hearing from them, but specifically what they did in the first round. Now, the New York Giants had the third overall pick in this draft, and we're all wondering, what are they going to do? Are they going to go Travis Hunter? Are they going to go Abdul Carter? Or are they going to go quarterback? Travis Hunter's off the board at number 3, and what the New York Giants decide to do is do the sensible thing. At least that's what I thought, and a lot of other people agreed as well. They take Abdul Carter, edge rusher, out of Penn State. You gotta get to the quarterback in this league. If you're gonna win in this league, you gotta get to the quarterback. But what was the most interesting thing here? Aside from the fact that you just paired up Abdul Carter with Kayvon Thibodeau, Brian Burns, and Dexter Lawrence, was that as we went through the draft, a name that we were all wondering about did not get called as we get through the first round, and that was Shedeur Sanders. Now, you've been following me enough, you know I'm a big Shedeur Sanders fan. Been following him throughout the year. Just liked what I saw. Accuracy, very accurate. Not super athletic, but is mobile, can move, can push the ball, can do a lot of things. He's like a point guard out there on the field. And it seemed like the Giants really thought that as well. They did extensive work on Shedeur Sanders. You had team reps at almost every Colorado game this year. The assistant GM was at a practice. He was actually at 2 practices, one of which Joe Shane was also at. Then, going into Shedeur Sanders' pro day, Brian Dable decides to pivot. Brian Dable usually doesn't show up to pro days. He prefers his private workouts. He decides, hey, we're going to go check this kid out. And so they do that, and you're looking at it and you're like, wow, man, the Giants must really like Sanders. But as we get closer and closer, we hear that they're not going with Sanders at 3. But once we hear the news that they trade back in at 25 with the Houston Texans, obviously they're going quarterback. And everything we heard is in this draft, they are going to leave this draft with a quarterback. So, what did the Giants decide to do? The Giants do not take Shedeur Sanders. They take Jackson Dart. And listen, I just told you guys I was a Sanders fan. A lot of people were Sanders fans. There were also people that weren't Sanders fans. And obviously, the Giants not taking Sanders lets you know that wasn't exact. There were things there that they didn't like. Look, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. We've all got preferences, right? What works for you might not work for me. For instance, in the great debate between waffles and pancakes, I'm a waffles guy. I like the crispness of a waffle. I like that you can trap your syrup in a waffle. There's nothing wrong with pancakes. I enjoy pancakes from time to time. But just for me, I prefer waffles over pancakes. And other people might not feel that way. There are people that obviously enjoy pancakes over waffles. Nothing wrong with that. When it comes to coaches in this league and how they run their offense, there are coaches, not all the time. We see with Andy Reid, he's able to adapt. When Harbaugh was the coach of the 49ers, he was able to adapt from Alex Smith to Colin Kaepernick. But for the most part, these coaches have a specific way of running things, and they want a guy in there that's going to run things the way that they want them to be run. Brian Dable was hired because of the work he did with Josh Allen, how he was able to develop Josh Allen. Now, here's some things that we have learned about from Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart definitely isn't a scrub. I know some people are going into this like, oh, it's another Daniel Jones. Absolutely not. Daniel Jones played in the ACC. Jackson Dart had some very nice success in the SEC, which is regarded to most, if not everybody, as the conference in college football. So, at Ole Miss in 2024, what was it that Jackson Dart was able to do? Well, he threw for 4,279 passing yards. He had 29 touchdowns. Did throw 6 interceptions. A couple of those did come in the Florida game. He had a 69.3% completion rate, 10.8 yards per attempt, and a 180.7 passer rating. He also ran for 495 yards with 3 touchdowns, and he was first team All SEC. Okay? So, he's a fearless guy. There's obviously some things that you want him to pick up on and stop doing. We saw the John Gruden quarterback camp clip where he asked for the snap count and all Dart did was clap. So right off the bat, he's going to need to learn how to do snap counts. He's also got to learn to slide, and he definitely will learn to do that. But hey, let's hear from head coach Brian Daboll on what it is that he likes from Jackson Dart.
About him to you and to you?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think he's got a lot of qualities you look for in a good quarterback. He's tough, makes good decisions with the football, pushes the ball down the field, has athletic ability, played in a really tough conference, started there at USC as a young guy, but, did a really good job throughout this process of our meetings, board work, workouts, and the tape that we like. So look forward to working with him. I'm glad he's here, and we'll get started as soon as we can.
All right, so there's a couple interesting things that he said there. He's tough, pushes the ball down the field, athletic. Who does that remind you of, ladies and gentlemen? Josh Allen, of course, right? And that's all we've been hearing is that when is Brian Daboll going to get his Josh Allen, right? It's a copycat league, and it seems like he has identified the guy that's going to be able to do that. Now, everybody's always talking about, hey, Brian Daboll, that's all he's ever done. Is all we know is he's worked with Josh Allen. Not completely true. First off, in that 2022 season where the Giants made the postseason, made it to the second round of the playoffs, he was able to get production out of Daniel Jones. Obviously, it went off the rails out of that, but he was able to find ways to get success out of his offense with Daniel Jones along with Saquon Barkley. But here's some other names I'll rattle off to you. Brian Daboll was once on staff with the Green Bay Packers, worked very closely with Brett Favre, Hall of Fame quarterback. He was also the offensive coordinator at one point for the Alabama Crimson Tide. Who are the 2 quarterbacks that he worked out with there? Well, one of those guys is Tua Tagovailoa. He's dealt with some injuries, but we've seen some very, very good things from Tua while he's at Miami. The other guy that he's worked with is Jalen Hurts. The guy that just won a Super Bowl for the Philadelphia Eagles. So he's got a little bit more of a resume than just Josh Allen. By the way, the Giants had their own Linsanity moment with undrafted rookie quarterback Tommy DeVito in 2023. How did that happen exactly? Well, Brian Daboll was the guy that got his hands on him. Now, Tommy DeVito is what he is, just like Daniel Jones was what he was. So you can only get so much out of these guys. But he's been able to show you through different quarterbacks that he is able to develop guys. Lucky for Jackson Dart, the Giants signed Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston. So we won't really have to worry too much about seeing Jackson Dart or rushing Jackson Dart in to a game if things go off the rails. And what you're hoping for if you're a New York Giants fan is that Dart's just able to kind of learn a bit from these guys as he learns through Brian Daboll. If he can learn those moon balls that Russell Wilson's able to throw, and just learn a little bit more about the way that these guys go about their progressions and their processes through games and things like that. Which is very different than what he had to do with Josh Allen. Josh Allen kind of had to get thrusted in there a little early because the Bills had Nathan Peterman as their starting quarterback. I think Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston are a bit better than Nathan Peterman, right? So there's already some good things to look forward to there. Let's hear a little bit more about what Brian Daboll thinks about Josh Allen.
Yeah, I'd say, look, we've had conversations all the way up to, this morning, actually, about a variety of things. And, I like the way he plays. I like his competitive fire. I like his accuracy. I like his ability, again, to push the ball down the field. His athletic ability to run with the football. I know the system that they ran down there at Ole Miss is similar to the one we had at Alabama. So there's some carryover on some of these things, but I think this guy's got better every year he's played. He's a leader. He was smart. He has the attributes that we were looking for. So excited to have him. Look forward to getting him in the room, and he's got a lot to learn. It'll be a process here with him, but he's a guy we look forward to working with.
So, guy we look forward to working with. He's got a lot to learn, as we noted earlier. Similar offense that we ran at Alabama, so carryover. Again, a lot of things that he likes there. So that's good to hear. I mean, if you're a Giants fan, you know why they hired Brian Daboll. If this is the guy that he said he wants and has identified to be his quarterback, we've got to trust him, right? So I'm going to give him a chance. I think you guys should as well. Now, the other big thing that happened this past week was the New York Knicks. They are moving on. They are moving on to the second round of the Eastern Conference to take on the Boston Celtics. Now, unfortunately for the Knicks, they went winless against the Celtics this year, which was not ideal, to say the least. But let's remember, the Knicks assembled this team. This new iteration of the New York Knicks was specifically assembled to take on the Boston Celtics. You wanted to get the dual wings in there to combat what Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are doing. So you re-sign OG Anunoby and you make a trade with the Brooklyn Nets, which hasn't happened since the 80s, to bring in Mikal Bridges. You also make a trade during preseason training camp for Karl Anthony Towns. You're sending out Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo, and you are bringing out multi-time All-Star Karl Anthony Towns to be your big man and combat what Kristaps Porzingis is doing on the Boston Celtics. I mean, Cat's had a career year this year with the New York Knicks. It's been fantastic. Obviously, we bring up those three. Jalen Brunson is who he is, Mr. Clutch, Clutch Player of the Year, and we saw what he did in Game 6. Boy. Thompson was definitely doing some work guarding him and taking things away with him going left. He was able to go left, get Thompson a bite, go back right, hits that incredible shot, big-time three to seal the series for the Knicks. So the Knicks take this thing in 6 against Detroit. Why? What's another reason to be concerned with the Knicks coming into Boston? Well, one of the reasons why the New York Knicks went 6 games with the Detroit Pistons. And look, no disrespect to the Pistons. They're a young team. They're scrappy. They're going to be really good. Cade Cunningham is going to be really good for them. And I look forward to seeing what they're doing when they get Jalen Ivey back as well. Jaden Ivey, sorry. But third quarter collapses in almost every single game, even in wins. The Knicks are completely collapsing in the third quarter. That just can't happen. You can't win. You can't win games against a team like the Celtics, who are defending their crown, by the way, having performances like that. Another big one. Karl Anthony Towns is supposed to be your number 2 man on this team, right? Well, in the fourth quarter of Game 6, Cat missed both shots that he took. He only took 2 shots. 2 shots in the fourth quarter? Again, can't happen. Recorded 2 turnovers, 3 fouls. Remember, he did foul out of that game as well. Not ideal. If you're going to go against Kristaps Porzingis, that cannot happen. Now, we talked about how the Knicks won on the back of Jalen Brunson taking that big-time shot to seal the series. What we're not talking enough about is Mikal Bridges, who put up 25 points in Game 6. Amazing. Amazing. Where was that in Game 5 or Game 4 or Game 3? You are a big piece. Really supposed to be the number 3 option on this team. Consistency. You've got to be consistent if you want a chance to at least make this competitive. I don't think anybody outside of Knicks fans are picking the Knicks to win this series. But this still should be a series that's competitive. If the Knicks go out in 4 against the Celtics, regardless of who the Celtics are, how good they are, we are going to be leaving that series asking questions. Mikal Bridges, where are you at? You're coming into a contract year next year. Are you worth the money to be bringing back? It's time for you to prove it. If you can play the way that you played in Game 6, if Karl Anthony Towns can limit his turnovers, his foul trouble, and take more than 2 shots in the fourth quarter, then the Knicks can really push the Celtics here. But you got to get it done. You got to get it done. We'll talk more. We'll talk more on this when we come back to you guys in a few days. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you guys next time.